Welcome to the War Eagle Radio Network for Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Services. Coming to you live from West Carroll High School's War Eagle Team Night. Talons Out Live takes you in-depth and behind the scenes with West Carroll War Eagles head coach Clayton Morris, with stats, comments, and a breakdown of the previous game, plus a look ahead in the schedule. We'll sit down weekly with special guests and even a senior spotlight player. Now let's get this show started from the high school cafeteria stage. This is Talons Out Live. Welcome one and all to the War Eagle Radio Network, Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service here at War Eagle Team Night at West Carroll High School. Rogers Hydrant Service, they have hydrant flow testing, flushing and repairs, valve operation, hydrant painting, GPS mapping, and so much more. Visit them online at rogershydrantservice.com or call Joey Cherry or Tim Rogers at 662-3700. With 125 years of combined experience in the water treatment and distribution, they know H2O. We are here ready to rock and roll in front of Team Night. We got a lot of the players that are still sticking around. Taco Lima was our distributor of the food tonight. They had fajitas and they had chips and salsa and a little bit of this, that, and the other thing. So it was good stuff. And our speaker tonight was none other than Mr. Phil Williams. So he gave them some good insight and was able to talk to the kids a little bit. And so we appreciate Mr. Phil Williams coming over here and taking care of business tonight. Adam Welch, how are you, brother?
Great. How are you?
Fine. Good stuff. Good food.
Great.
Some good stuff.
Yep.
Taco Lima. I think that's that green truck in Milan at the Exxon station.
The one by the.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, they've got some good stuff. So that was some good eating. And then the desserts. Miss Ashley Hammond and Brittany Fowler and all the family and the parents and grandparents and all that stuff. They chipped in and got all the desserts and stuff here too, and made the desserts. Ashley said if it was good, she made it. If it wasn't, somebody else did. So she. But I tell you one thing I still got sitting right here is some Betty Joe Sullivan chocolate chip cookies, and she's out there in the audience. Wait a minute, there you go. She's got some of the best chocolate chip cookies you have ever laid your mouth on. That's some good stuff. So, Coach Morris, man of the hour, how are you, brother?
I'm good. How are y'all?
Good.
We're doing well. Let's talk about this ball game from Friday night.
I know interesting.
It is going to be an interesting. This probably could be the most interesting Talons Out Live we have had in quite a long time, and we don't care. We'll speak freely. Let's make it happen. So we talked about on air or off air that this Zombie Trail paintball scary moments in time later on down this list may need its own segment, because that was definitely some crazy stuff on Friday night, from the amount of penalties that Camden had, and the amount of stuff that maybe wasn't called, and I mean just et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I know there were several times, that not only the coaches and the players, but the two banks of fans was just, it was like one of them would come off their seat, in anguish, and the next one, the other side, would come off their seat in anguish. And it was definitely a family-sized bag of chips. There was chippiness all the way around
That's right.
that entire game. And I feel like we're going to touch on probably one or two very minute little things that could have made it go the other way. I mean, we only lost by 2 points, but I feel like there's going to be somewhere along this Talons Out Live that there's going to be one or two little minute things that we're going to touch on that we're going to say that was the key to the 2 point loss the other night. One of them that I can really remember is one of their touchdown runs that come from about the other 40-yard line, and they were gone. If we could have stopped that one, man, it could have been a different story. So, but we'll dive into it. We'll jump right into it. So, Adam, let's take a look at Friday night, a 28-26 loss by West Carroll. But I'm telling you one thing, it did not go down without a fight.
No, it did not. And you look at the game I'm going to go for some stats first. Okay. 28-26, Camden wins. First downs, West Carroll 19, Camden 16. I thought that was interesting. Rushing yards, 39 carries for 252 yards for West Carroll in the contest. Camden, 43 carries for 490 yards. Passing, 10 out of 15 was West Carroll and 2 interceptions. Camden, 2 out of 10. no interceptions. Total offensive plays, very interesting here. West Carroll 54, Camden 53. West Carroll had 414 yards on their plays, Camden 501. Fumbles, West Carroll had one. Two punt returns, kickoff returns, but both were pretty even on that. Let's talk first about defensively. You come into this game, we all knew this was set the stage kind of where everybody was thinking this was going to be a 42 to 38 game. Was this a type of game that, well, the way it started, that you kind of wanted and you were hoping to say, hey, this is turned into a defensive match here, starting out maybe, but this is
Yeah,
how we want this.
it's
We
tough.
even brought that up on air.
It's tough when you look at stats and you don't take away credit from the kid for them. I mean, number seven's a game changer. I mean, he
Oh,
is
no
a
doubt.
flat out ball player, and I told Coach McConnell that pregame talking with him, and they've got a young team. They have very few seniors, I think 3 total. So they're a lot of those kids are coming back, and he's had some growing pains with those kids, and their region is a gauntlet. It's just not an easy region, that 2A region. They're in there with the likes of Milan and Huntington and Trenton Peabody and Riverside. And
Ooh.
I mean, you go on down the list, you got JCM, you got Gibson County in there. I mean, it's an onslaught of teams that they got. Adamsville, I forget, they're in there now. And so there's some traditionally very competitive teams in that region. And they're hungry for success. Camden traditionally has had success. They've been here of late, they've been up and down as far as success with football, but they have a history of being successful and very competitive and physical. And Coach McConnell's from there, and that's home for him. And I guess when you look at the stats, you're like, man, how did they only score 28 and 26 points? When you look at the yards, Camden's over 500 over offensive yards, and West Carroll's over 400, and you only have 28 points for Camden and 26 for West Carroll. So in a way that this defense made a lot of good adjustments, I thought, going into the second half. You go in at halftime with them scoring 21, and then they only score 7 in the second half. So you clean up a little bit of fits there, but Camden had so many big plays in the first half. So many big plays. And Jonathan was talking about it. He's already kind of touched on it. And it just felt like when they got loose, they got loose. And it was a lot of times it was number 7 for them, and I forget his name.
More.
And he's going to be a name that if a lot don't know, they will know soon. They need to know.
They need
Well,
to know.
and you was talking about they got loose pretty quick. It even kind of resembled a little bit of the old Lake County that we've seen.
Yeah.
You're sitting there trying to follow the ball, and I mean, it even snookered you, Adam, a couple times. It snookered Rachel on the camera, and it's like, oh, wait a minute, there he goes.
Yeah,
He's gone.
and again, Coach McConnell was a great offensive mind, and they had 2 weeks, and he had a good game plan, and he did some. You don't see it a lot anymore. I think it's the first time I've seen it since being back in West Tennessee. You see it sometimes with Franklin teams in Western Kentucky, big time Franklin schools that they'll do what we call a faux pull, which is a fake pull, and we teach our linebackers to read guards so heavy. And you're to the point of the season now where you have tendencies on what you teach your kids to do. Everybody does. They had theirs as well. And so there was a couple of those big run plays. They would do what, and I know it's a read play, but to me, I'm looking at it as a faux pull, a fake pull. They pull guards one way for the quarterback to go opposite of the guard pull. So it kind of messes with everything that we teach our defense, and it's tough to make, drastic adjustments for 3 plays, but on the flip side, those 3 plays resulted in, at least 2 touchdowns, if not more. So it's a great game plan, and you're getting to the point of the season when you got good coaches, you got you give them time, and you got coachable kids are able to throw some of those wrinkles in there, and we were able to do some of those things as well. We hit Nate Wyckoff on a couple of double moves. We hadn't done that with him all season long.
Very nice.
And they had, in my opinion, one of their kind of lesser DBs of the 4 on the field on Nate, and we were able to take advantage of that matchup. I mean, that's just where you get here at the end. And we'll talk about it, but at the end of the day, regardless of how everything's shaped out for that game, calls, no calls, touchdowns, backs, touchdowns not called back, whatever, we left 5 points on the field. We were 1 for 3 in 2-point conversions and 0 for 1 on extra points. So if everything else plays out the way it's supposed to,
think about that,
and we're able to convert an extra point and 1 more 2-point play,
You win.
we win.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so that's where I always go back to. What was left on the field was what happened. We left 5 points on the field and lost by 2.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about physicality and defense as far as Camden. Now, you go into this game, with a lot of momentum.
Mhm.
Tough loss, as we've
Mhm.
mentioned, but do you think playing a team like Camden and their physicality is going to benefit you as we get toward McKenzie with the big region? And
That that
not looking past Kip, but
No, but
non-region. Then we get
you're exactly right. How they play defensively, you got to imagine that's McKenzie's going to use that
that's
blueprint a
going to
little
help you.
bit.
Yeah.
And it was very similar to kind of what FACS did to us earlier in the year: load the box and get after us a little bit up front. And we knew going into it that it was a mismatch with our O lineman versus their D lineman. They've got some big, strong, stout kids. And I thought our O line did, is about as well as they could given the circumstances. You give 6-7 man boxes and they've got their ears pinned back coming forward, and it's tough to absorb something those kids sometimes and give Camden credit. They were not afraid. Sometimes when you hesitate on harpooning in there, it makes it easy for an O line. And Camden was not a timid in what they were doing defensively. So to answer your question, time will tell. Time will tell. I've gone back and forth on that in my mind. I think it was good for us to see someone with the physicality of Camden, especially on the box and defensive side. And really O-line wise, they did a lot of pulling and kicking and pulling and wrapping, and we have not seen the team been able to do that consistently, effectively, and they were able to do that as well. So hopefully, the kids took the film to heart yesterday, and we've got to do some healing up, and hopefully with that gets better every day. But you hope that you learn lessons from losses, and it was a close loss, and it was a tough loss, and there's no doubt. But we said last week they're better than what their record says. They only scored 28, and they were averaging, I think, over 40 a game. But
they're close to 50.
They did what was needed to be done to win that ball game at home in a close game, and that's, if you're coaching late and long enough, that's what you want to see. And I don't know if they'll make the playoffs. It's going to be tough for them. They're going to have some things shake out, and they've got to pull off some big games for them here towards the back end of the season. But if you're Coach McConnell with a young team, you have to be encouraged with the progress, in my opinion, that they've shown since before the bye week and after the bye week.
Did Camden, as far as coming out showing you what they showed you to start the game, did they come out and throw you any curveballs, or was this pretty much straight gas? And this is what you expected?
They pretty much did kind of what we anticipated. Again, what's hard to simulate is the manner in which they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I thought early on we always take a little bit to get going to see where the creases are going to be, and you look at film, you say, man, right in here and then right in there, and but it's we've talked about it every week. It's time to stop saying, man, we're so close. And I thought we did a good thing defensively there early, forcing a turnover on them in their first first series there, their first possession. So that it was a back and forth momentum game, and y'all said it. The amount of fight our kids showed, we had multiple times that we could have laid down, and there's been some teams here that would have laid down. Especially at halftime, you're down 21-6, and it really kind of felt like the floodgates were getting ready to open, and you just don't know. You haven't been in that situation a whole lot this season. You don't know what type of team you're going to get in the second half, and the second half was
very deflated.
The second half was very back and forth,
Yeah.
and I thought I never felt like our kids were out of the fight.
Yeah.
We struggled to get a foothold, but they continued to battle all the way to the end until there was just absolutely nothing left to be done.
I want to say, Adam, that we actually talked about that a little bit, possibly on the Centennial Bank halftime show.
Yeah,
is
that was one of the keys.
Not really about being deflated or whatever, but how are we going to make that adjustment? What is West Carroll going to come out and do, and what is that conversation like in the locker room? And we had this feeling that it was going to be a different second half, and y'all were going to make those adjustments. And it seems like you did. It seems like they understood what you wanted them to do and the adjustments that you wanted them to make.
Again, the coaches did a good job of getting with the kids and explaining some things. But at the end of the day, you leave points on the field. I don't care what level ball you play. It's extra points and 2-point conversions, however you slice it. It'll come back and get you in close games, and this is just another case of that.
Yeah.
The resiliency, the rough play that was shown in this game, I thought your kids responded well. What's your opinion on that assessment?
There has been times since I've been here that in a game like that, guys, I don't know if we finished the game. I'm gonna be honest. It was a very chippy, physical game. It's almost like, and I know there's some people out there listening that has more of a history of this place. It almost felt like a rivalry type game, and I don't know if West Carroll's ever played Camden in a regular season football game.
Not that I'm aware of.
But it felt just very, very, very tense. I guess
It did.
Not just the players, but with coaches and fans, and I don't know. It just had a feel of a yearly type of battle, and that was kind of odd. I really wasn't expecting that. Not that I wasn't expecting a lot of fight from Camden, but just that environment. You kind of think of that with a Brewston or a McKenzie or somebody that's a little bit more. Maybe even a Dresden or a Lake County,
absolutely.
or that's more of a yearly opponent, and then this was a new opponent for us. And as far as I know, there wasn't any blood between the two, and so it was kind of odd. But I'll say this, and you always spend a lot of time reflecting over the weekend, and I had a lot of time to do that, and that type of resiliency, that type of fight, is one thing I feel like we've been missing come November. When you get in those really, really tough playoff battles. And so did we learn something from it? Hopefully. I learned that our kids are able to stay in a fight without losing their cool.
I learned that too, yes.
I learned that our kids are not afraid of a fight on the road. I don't think that they were deterred by being at Camden. I don't think that I don't think the stage was too big for them. I don't think they ever once thought about how many kids was on their sidelines and how few was on our sidelines. I don't think that ever crossed their minds. They were just focused on what was in front of them. And that's a mindset that I don't feel like we've had consistently since I've been here. And that's a mindset that gets more teams beat in November than people realize when you don't have that resiliency. Because when you get to playoffs, you get past the first round. Most teams are good at that point, and you're going to have some resiliency, and you're going to have some back and forth. And we came up short, but man, we had the opportunities there, especially in that second half, third quarter. We had opportunities to really kind of turn the tide, and we would just get real close. And again, give Camden credit; they would jerk it right back away from us.
Yeah, and there was even a phone call that I had. I believe it was maybe Saturday or Sunday afternoon, and we was talking about how your boys have not jumped back at a fight or an argument. And we talked to Will Robinson the other night. That kid right there, that's a number one example. He has come so far and holding his composure.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that the rest of your team has learned that over the last year or two of how to hold it together better. When you are put up against and facing those teams like Camden.
You always preach it as a coach. At least I like to think that all coaches do. I'm making an assumption, but you'd like to think that, and Lord knows that I don't do my fair share of preaching it enough. But one thing our kids that we have this year have, and they don't realize it, but I think what happened to us last year, in some situations where we had some suspensions, we had some kids miss some big games, we had some kids miss playoff games for different things like that. And subconsciously, I think that stays in there. I mean, you're looking at the rest of the season there. If you get ejected at this point in time, you're missing senior night, you're missing the McKenzie game, possibly first round of the playoffs. And there's a lot more. And I don't think up until last season, it really hit home with a lot of our kids that, hey, it can be taken away.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we say. And one of the things we talked about that kind of resonated with me pregame is it's over is getting closer every day. Mm-hmm. And it comes for all of us and everything that we do. And, if that was it for you, then what is that memory going to be? And when you have that mindset, and we have kids that are doing a better job, we say, hold your brother accountable. It's frustrating. And we all know it's frustrating, the emotions that go into this sport, but there's a flip side of that. And there's something I battled with Friday. When you're in that type of game and some of those things are happening, I'm more proud of our kids for holding their composure when it became more of a self-defense situation. And some things where if they had a loss, they're cool. You kind of, not that I'm justifying any of that, but you're just like, well, how many times you going to get hit in the back, or how
Exactly.
many times you going to get power drove at the bottom of a pile, or how many times you going to get stomped on, or how many times your helmet going to get ripped off before just that frustration builds. And
Yeah.
not just a teenager, but imagine as a grown adult. I mean, there's everyone has a limit. And that was my message to the officials, like, hey, I'm doing everything I can to keep my kids calm, cool. We had a few,
But
we had to
where's the
pull
limit?
out. But I was sure to tell them, like, but when is the point?
Yeah.
When's the point that we see that what is the driving force behind this frustration? There's always a cause. We don't have, there's very few, not just on our team, but most teams, there's very few just purely bad kids. Where is this stemming from? And that was probably the biggest concern for me is, I'm proud of the kids. We held our composure, and they got kids ejected. We didn't, and there's a couple times I was worried we were going to. A couple of things I saw, and I was like, oh man, here we go, and you just felt the tension, and our kids never really did. And so it's not that they weren't fighting. It's not that they weren't in the fight. They fought their tails off, but they did it between the whistles. They did the way it was supposed to be played, and I just hate that they didn't get that payoff of that, because it was the way. They carried and conducted themselves for probably 95% of that game.
Yeah.
That's the way that it's supposed to be played. And when you do that and you don't get the payoff, you hurt. I hurt because I'm the one that's preaching to them about, hey, be more accountable for your actions. Think about the long-term effect of your decisions and all those things that go into being a mature adult, and then you don't get the payout on it. So I hope the kids in the community sees that these boys have shown a lot of growth. Not just in wins and losses, not just in how we play, but just the character that they have. And I'm extremely proud of them. And yeah, it hurts that we lost, but I'm proud of the progress.
You were down 21-6, and then let's talk about getting ready to go the second half. Excuse me. You had Jaden Milton 9-yard touchdown run. You had Zach Fowler's pass to Drassel for 15-yard touchdown that made it 21-18. I thought overall Moore seemed like he did his thing the first half.
Mhm.
Second half,
I
feel like you keyed on him. I don't know if it was what changes did you make? Any adjustments that you felt like your coaches and your team made the second half?
Defensively for us, it was just doing what we were, what our plan was from the get-go. And it was very uncharacteristic of us defensively in the first half. We had a lot of kids doing things that we just don't do.
Feel like Camden got you out of your kilter?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really know. Again, Camden's coached well offensively.
Yeah.
If you've got a lineman that's screaming upfield, they're going to trap you. They're going to kick you out. But we've got kids that were doing those type of things that we haven't done that all year long. And then the way we were lining up to certain things, and I'll call it ad-libbing, but it's not ad-libbing because they get the idea from somewhere. We as coaches are responsible for everything. But it really there's a lot of times I looked out there. Of course, Coach Dolan's up in the box, and you get on the headset like, Coach, when did we line up this way? When did we play things this way? And sometimes I don't even say it on the headset. I'll catch a coach on the side and take my headset off and say, what are we doing right here? Like this, I don't remember this. And I'm not the smartest, person in the world. And I may have overlooked something in practice or just missed this alignment, but we had a lot of confusion, and not because of what Camden was doing, just us being completely focused on our keys. So a lot of times in the first half, defensively, we're looking at replay and we're talking to them at halftime. Our eyes are going with the motion man, and we're not staying focused on what we're supposed to be looking at. And when you look at the window dressing, there's a reason they're window dressing, and that's a lot of times that shoots right back up underneath it. And that's what was happening to us. And our kids got a little bit more dialed in. We started tackling in space better in the second half. That was a key. That was one thing that we talked about with the DBs all week. Like I'm concerned about our tackling in space because we really haven't been tested out in space up until that point. Somebody that gets outside and gets our edge, and and we're missing a couple of guys on the edge there last week, and so we had some new people in new places, but that's small school ball. That happens, and defense came out and played a lot better in the second half. And I think the offense did too. You're down 21-6 on the road to a bigger school, and you're able to come out and score the next two scores, and you're right back in the ball game. I mean, it was back and forth from that point.
Yeah.
You look at Nate, 5 tackles, Brogdon 5, Taylor 4, Milton 4, Mims 3, Drew Smith 3. It was so spread out. And Jonathan spoke about it on there, how it seemed like a couple times we were gang tackling to the football.
And we needed more of it.
Yeah,
and we're going to need more of it. You know, Kip, we'll talk about them in a minute, but they're going to test us in space and as well. You know, they're going to have a few athletes that can flat out play, and it's going to be out in space. You know, they're not a team. You know, kind of like Camden can bang it up within the tackles. They're physical enough, but that wasn't their game plan. Their game plan was to pull and get outside and get 7 on the edge and let him be an athlete. And that's a great game plan when you got a kid like that. And you know, McKenzie will take advantage of what you give them, and then you get to the playoffs. You never know what you're going to see. So we've got to have more game tackling, and hopefully we can build off the second half defensively.
Absolutely. You want to take a break? And I've
Sure.
got some more.
Sure. Well, but before we take a break, there's a lot of times that I don't read these comments that come in on here, and we don't always get a ton of comments on Talons Out Live. We get more on the ball game and stuff. But this one's for you, Coach. Ryan Mansfield, he's watching.
Oh, what's up, Coach Mansfield? Hope you're doing well, buddy.
He says, keep coaching them kids to be great athletes and even greater young men, Coach. Miss you and all the coaches and players. So we appreciate Ryan.
I haven't checked on him in a while, and I'm glad he's listening, and I appreciate him, and we miss him. I miss him, and I need to check on you, Ryan. I hope things are well, and I hope you're making it happen in Choctaw country over there.
Yeah. Right. All right, we're going to step away. We're going to take a quick 1-minute break, and we'll come back with more Talons Out Live after this on the War Eagle Radio Network.
You know good and well a party ain't a party unless giant inflatable jumpers are involved. Hensley's Inflatable Rentals has you covered with an inflatable bounce house or a 15-foot tall inflatable slide. And better yet, they both can be used wet or dry, whatever your party calls for. Call Big Dave at 731-487-5995 for rental prices and booking. Or visit Hensley's Inflatable Rentals on Facebook to see the offerings and to add the extra fun of inflatables to your next event.
Rogers Hydrant Service Incorporated is a family-owned and operated company located in the heart of West Tennessee. Their business stands on hard work and hands-on customer service. Whether you need hydrant flow testing, flushing and repairs, valve operation, hydrant painting, GPS mapping, backflow device testing and repair, or water main repairs, they're the complete hydrant company to serve all of your hydrant needs. Call Tim Rogers or Joey Cherry at 731-662-3700. Rogers Hydrant Service Incorporated, they know H2O. Welcome back live on the War Eagle Radio Network. Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service here at Team Night. And we're going to go ahead and jump in and grab our senior spotlight player here right quick. And if I can get the other camera here working and ready to rock.
Curveball.
That's okay. We'll throw a curveball. While I'm getting
Adam,
this,
we'll get back to your stats.
Good. Hey, it's all good.
We'll get back to your stuff here in just a minute. Well, just for a second, while I get this pulled up here and squared away, y'all can discuss the situation here just a minute if you want to. Let me see. Do I got it ready to go? I think I do. We're gonna have to change. We're gonna have to change the name on there because it was still Will Robinson from last week.
Look at him. There he is.
Hey, let me be sure I'm spelling this right. Spell your name. I've messed D-A-E. I knew that. See, I got to get it right. No, he did. I knew that. I did know that.
He wouldn't have asked.
He said he wouldn't have asked.
Everybody can hear on here because
All right, so our senior spotlight player is Dalen Drassel tonight. How are you, brother? Let's turn your microphone up. Good. Glad you're able to join us. From what I understand, you got to jet off here, so that's okay. We'll run in here and get you squared away right quick. So one of the first things that I always like to ask the senior spotlight player, who is Dalen Drassel? Like, if you always went to West Carroll, is this the thing that you always want to do? Was the football? I mean, I know you've done some of the basketball stuff. So who is Dalen Drassel? Give us a little backstory.
Well, I was born and I grew up in Milan for a little bit. I moved to West Carroll in 3rd grade. I didn't start playing football till 4th grade because my dad signed me up.
Right.
Football wasn't really always the plan for me. It was
Yeah.
always just like basketball. But when my dad introduced me to football, it kind of like changed my life a little bit.
Right.
Then I moved back to Milan. I didn't play really like no football my freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came back, played my sophomore year. I'm 17. I have a lot of siblings. I live in Mackley, and yeah, I play football.
Well, we're glad that you do, because there has been some serious Dalen Drassel moments on these football games and these broadcast stuff. Your name has popped up, especially this year, quite a ton. So, I mean, I wish I'd have thought about it. I wish I'd have known, and we'd have looked at like the whole season stats type thing. And I mean, I'm sure there's been several times that, touchdowns and some other good accolades and stuff. So it's been
Right.
fun to watch. It's been fun to
Yes, sir.
bring your name up plenty of times on this broadcast and stuff. So one of the things too that I like to ask the seniors, what do you feel like it, whether it's on the field or whether it's in the field house or in school off the field, what do you feel like is your number one thing that you supply to this team and and this group? Or like I said, it can even be in school. What's that one thing that you feel like that you bring to the table as a senior and you can supply to the rest of the folks?
I feel like my heart. Like sometimes when we're down, everybody like hangs their heads and everything, and I feel like I'm one of them guys that like try to get everybody's like heads up. Even though I'm not really a talker. Like I don't like to really like speak and stuff like that.
Right.
But I always try to go out there and put people's heads high, keep them high, even if we're down and everything like that.
And we always ask kind of the same question with you, Coach. What do you feel like is some of the top things that he has added to this team and this locker room?
We always knew, especially last season, and going into the off season, that Dalen was going to be one of the most explosive athletes that we were going to have this year.
Mhm.
And he's been a staple on the back end defensively for a few years now, and he's developed into being somebody that, man, we got to find a way to get the ball in his hands more. We got to
Right.
get him more involved. And go back to last season, and he was running a couple of jets and counters out of the offensive run, and we're like, gosh, you got to find a way. He's just got a little knack for it. And here's the thing that I don't think a lot of people realize about Dalen: he never comes off the field.
Yeah. Now there's been plenty of times we
does
noticed that.
not, and it's almost when you take him off the field for you try to get him a break, he gets offended. Like, what do you mean I need a break? I don't need a break. And it's not because he just wants to be out there to be defiant or to be bullheaded. He's not gassed. The kid never gets tired. He never gets winded. I just knock on wood, he's hardly ever hurt. He has a few nicks and things here, but he's a staple. He's a mainstay. He's always there. He's there every day. And if he's not, he's sure to let you know before everybody's up what's going on. And if he's got a lead, he's poured a lot into this. And I know his family's proud of him. And there's been something else over the last few weeks that I haven't even dove into him with. And he's finally grown into, he says he's not a talker, and he's right. I wish he was more of a talker, but he has matured as far as his preparation for the sport. And whether he talks about it or not, he's going to have opportunities. He already does, and he's going to have more opportunities. But the mental maturity to watch his opponents, and he'll start at, I think it was the McEwen week was your first week doing your little notebook. Coach Dolan makes, he cracks your jokes about, but I noticed it in practice, and I didn't know that Dalen was doing this. And we were at practice one day for the McEwen week, and every time we lined up in the formation, and I'm holding the scout book, and Coach Dixon's running scout team quarterback, and Dalen was yelling out the play as if he was standing in the huddle every time. And I started to feel like, okay, are we getting that creative with it? So, we started flopping some things and formations and whatever, and he's calling out every play. And Coach Dolan said, oh, no, Dalen, when he gets out here, he sits in there with his notebook and watches film and takes notes. And the defense took a big step forward when you have somebody on the back end. And some of the best defenses I've ever been privileged to coach over my years is when you have somebody at the second or third level, the linebacker or safety level, that is able to say, hey, watch this play based off that formation, or watch this play off that formation. That's maturity. That's maturity of putting forth just that little bit extra preparation for something that's meaningful to you. Everybody says, yeah, I want to go to college. Yeah, I want to win. Yeah, I want to do all these things. All right, well, then what are you doing extra? what else are you doing? Because everybody's practicing, everybody's lifting, everybody's conditioning, everybody's hitting. Everybody that plays the sport does those things. Not everybody watches as much film as Dalen does. I can track and say how many hours a kid watches every week.
Really?
It doesn't get close. It doesn't. And it's not mandated. It's not something that I've been on staffs that have tried to make kids watch so many hours of film, and it's counterproductive because you can just let the same clip run and loop over and over and over, and it adds a timer up. But he just kind of did that on his own. So I hope he continues it because we're going to need it moving into the playoffs.
Okay. Will you bring the extra time on the video and watching the replays? Why? Why do you do that?
To help our team win, really. Yeah, that's basically it.
Just get that little extra bump, I guess, a little extra.
Right.
And you was talking about you don't really like to talk. I can tell you one thing. There's been a few seniors in our past that you're like, who are you? And they're like, 2 seconds later, they're done. So you already have talked a whole lot more than what some of them have. So you must be coming out your shell. So that's a good thing. So and you can even answer this question in addition to Coach Morris, but for Dixon or Dolan or whatever. But this man right here to your right, what has he meant to you personally? Like I said, it can be on the field, off the field, class, or whatever. What has he meant to you personally coming into this 3 years ago? Because you said you started with football in your sophomore year, right? So he's the only coach for football that you've really known, right?
Yes, sir.
So what does Coach Morris mean to you? And you can also answer that same thing, for like Dolan and Dixon as well.
Well, Coach Morris meant a lot to me, really. Like I said, I didn't play my freshman year, so I didn't really have like a specific high school coach. Like, yeah, I played spring ball my freshman year with Coach Wolf, but that was like 2 months.
Yeah.
But then a few months later, all the coaches left, and then Coach Morris stepped up, and that really meant a lot to me because like me and him have grown like personally together. But it's not only just that; it's like him helping me, try to continue my football career in college. Taking me and my friends to camps. And, putting all his extra hours into this is just a lot of respect.
Is there anything really like specifically that he has taught you personally? Anything that you can really pull out?
Really just to work harder. And, yeah, that's basically it.
Just work harder and make it happen. So, all right. So you brought up the college and stuff. What do you have some plans and where are the places that you're looking at? As far as your college, and like you said, you want to try to play football for one of those as well?
Yes, sir. I just recently got my second offer today from Wilmington. Yeah. But I'm gonna see. I'm gonna keep on trying to get a lot more notices by colleges. But yeah, I don't really have a specific college I'm aiming for. But I'm just gonna,
it's kind
at the end of the season see what I have and go from there.
Get your options and see where it goes. And that's that's probably one of the best things that you can do and that's good. I think we've had 3 or 4 guys that have already got multiple offers and stuff. So I mean that's
and
good.
I think it's just beginning, not just for Dalen, but those young men. I think Dalen's going to have some more opportunities. As the boards are continuing to move and transfer portal this and moving and so the recruiting demographics has changed so much, in the last 2 years, and so it's right now it's, you look and you say, well, where's that place even at? Well, the way I look at it is it's an opportunity. If you truly want to continue this, then it does not matter where you go and it does not matter the name or wherever. And I'm excited that he's got 2 already. He's got 2 faster than I thought. I thought most of his would come postseason when boards kind of fluctuated. And this is the same with Nate and a few others, I kind of thought they were postseason offer type guys. And so for the fact of the matter that he's getting some now, it makes me very optimistic for some opportunities to continue to come open for him. And I think he's, we call him a late bloomer, meaning that he has really kind of come out of his, shell this year, not just athletically, but mentally. And as he says, work harder. He doesn't realize what he's saying, I don't think. But, we talk a lot about if it's personal, it's not hard to work harder.
Yeah.
You know, and I like to think, and I might be wrong, but I like to think that's where the film study comes from. It's personal for Dalen.
Yeah.
Like he pours a lot into this, and in order to be successful in anything that's personal, you have to pour things into it. And I think he's kind of gravitated to that over the years, and he is a quiet kind of kid that just, as I said, he's always there, and you always know what you're going to get out of Dalen, and you always know where he stands, and he's not moody. At least I don't think so. He might be different at home. I don't know, but he's not moody for us, and he's just a consistent staple for the last 3 years, and he's going to be hard to fill those shoes.
Maybe we didn't need to ask a particular graduate from last year if he's moody or something. I don't know. So.
Diving off into some waters there.
Okay, so we was talking about the college and the football and situation. So let's talk about like the academic side of it and the possibilities of the career move that you want to make. Is there anything that really stands out to you as far as what you want to go to school for and what your career you would like it to be in the future?
Well, I know a few people. Some of my friends are physical therapists, and my aunt has really like introduced me and talked me into it.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I think I'm gonna do.
Hey, that's always
Good
that's
stuff.
always good stuff. So, well, you got anything else for?
No.
Anybody else? Okay, we appreciate you joining us.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate you jumping in here at the last minute and taking care of this. So you've talked better than a lot of folks. So
You did fine, Dalen.
You did just
You
fine.
did good.
You just fine.
You did good.
One of the things that I always like to leave the seniors with, keep God first in your life.
Yes,
He
sir.
will lead you through the rest of your high school, college, your career. Keep God first in your life, and He will point you in the right direction. There's been
Yes,
so
sir.
many times that He's done that for me, and put different things in my life in different places and in the right places. And
Yes, sir.
that's what He does best. Keep God first in your life, and you'll definitely go far. I promise you that. So.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right,
Good
we
luck to
appreciate-
you.
Yeah, good luck to you the
Yes,
rest
sir.
of this year and going for college and as well. So we appreciate you joining us.
Thanks, Dalen.
Yes, sir.
All right, that is Dalen Drassel, our senior spotlight player. We're going to step away. We'll take a quick 1-minute message, and we'll come back with some more Talons Out Live after this on the War Eagle Radio Network.
If you're looking for the best in home generators, then look to K-Men Electric in Greenfield, Tennessee for your sales and installation of Generac home and standby generators. Free estimates, licensed and insured. Why sit in the dark during power outages? Life is better with power. K-Men Electric has the experience you need with over 1,000 generators installed. Give them a call today at 731-571-0667.
Would you like to take out the zombie population? Are you ready to wipe out things that walk among the dead? Then the Zombie Trail Paintball in Humboldt is the place for you. 1533 Mason Grove Road in Humboldt. You will board a trailer to travel a mile path through the woods, shooting targets and zombies. Plus they have a corn maze. For more information and to buy tickets, visit zombietrailpaintball.com or check them out on Facebook. Take out the zombies if you dare.
It starts with
Welcome back live on the War Eagle Radio Network. Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service here at, well, what was team night. They're gone. They have
Full belly heading home.
That's right. I
They rents to
guarantee it.
go. They disappear. Well, that's a good interview with Dalen Drassel. We appreciate him joining us.
Good
and
kid. Really,
so
really good
he
kid.
really is. He really is. And like I said, he's kind of blossomed and grown into
Mhm.
what everybody, what the team needs and what everybody is hope for him. So, Adam, you said start back with players of the game. I'm going to skip that for a moment. We had a zombie paintball ad right there. They're one of our sponsors. So let's just get into the next hour segment of the Zombie Trail Paintball scary moments in time from that game the other night. Like I said, we was talking off air. That could be a dang 30-minute, 45-minute session right there, just talking about the scary moments in time. So Go for it, Coach. Which one? What stands out to you?
It could be a long segment, but I'm not. I'm not going to make it one. When you play a team that has a playmaker, they're going to have big plays.
Yeah.
I mean, it's best said, and it's a cliche, and it's used too much, but it's the truth. Playmakers make plays, and Camden has a good one. And I'm telling you, you're going to hear his name a lot over the next.
You're going to hear it more.
There's no doubt. There's no doubt. He's
Yeah.
only going to get better. His line is only going to get better.
Yeah.
And they're all young pups.
Yeah.
So it's concerning, not just for us here at West Carroll having to play them next year, but it's concerning for a lot of teams to be sure to be able to hem him up, especially if they're able to get the type of production they do from his counterparts. They played well, and so I'm not going to really go with any of those big plays as scary parts. For me, the scariest part of what I do, and my wife will tell you that I take personal interest in the health and well-being of any kid that comes to play for me. When I have a kid that's laying on the field, in that moment of unsure what it is, but they're laying and screaming or crying or rolling around, that's a feeling in my stomach that nothing else gives me.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it's just a 5-second feel, and sometimes it's a little longer. And we've had a few of those situations this season, but we had a lot of them Friday. And my kids mean the world to me, and they don't always believe that, but really I lose sleep over these kids. And to see any of them in pain, laying on the field and just unsure exactly what it is, that there's nothing else this game can throw at me that'll be more scary than seeing one of the boys that I love to be around laying on the field. So
And something that I noticed Friday night, because of that, I guess, heightened state of aggressiveness, I guess we'll put it that way, from Camden. There was a couple of times I noticed, I don't even know if you knew that you were out on the field at a couple times, but you were to them kids that were down. You and Jonathan Allen, y'all were there.
Eject me for that.
Exactly. And I mean,
that's something
but it was noticeable that I feel like you had that heightened awareness of the aggression. And I mean, you were there faster than what I've ever seen.
There was 2 or 3 plays, especially, the one I go to, everybody's talking about Milton's run right there at the half. And I think he ended up at the 4-yard line. I have no idea. I didn't see that at all. I'm concerned with getting out. I think it was Nick at that point on that play that he's, laying at the other end of the field, screaming in pain, and Camden had a kid beside him, and I'm wanting to get out there as quick as I can.
It was scary.
And it's not to discredit the good or the bad plays that our kids do, but I'm telling y'all that there's nothing this game can do to me as long as I do this that bothers me as much as seeing one of my kids on the field. And for that matter, another team's player. I mean, these are kids, and for a lot of them, this is going to be the epitome of their football playing career. And a lot of them are multi-athletes, multi-sport athletes. And so you don't want to see a kid get hurt.
Oh man, that's one thing I was going to ask Drassel. Is he going to still do the basketball?
I think so.
I forgot to ask him.
I think he's going to.
Anyways, Carol.
But it's number one priority to me, and what I tell myself and what I tell the kids is, because they don't really understand, but the parents of these kids or the guardians of these kids entrust their kids to me.
Yeah.
And what I put them in and those situations. And that's personal. That's personal. It's someone else's child. And so, to see those kids, hey, there's some things that I'll do not to get ejected, but if you can toss me from a game, if you're going to get upset because I'm on the field too soon, if I've got a kid laying there screaming, rolling in pain, you'll have to toss me, because I'm getting, there's one time we had one, it ended up being a cramp, but it's only a complete other side of the field.
It was on our side,
and I know I wasn't extremely fast, but I felt like I was going as fast as I could go at that point.
You got there fast.
I think the play was still going on.
Who cares?
And I don't think about that. All I see is I've got one of my kids are down.
Yeah.
One of my kids are down. I'm going to get over there because that kid needs something. And so it's just a reaction for me.
And that's a good thing. And like I said, I feel like it might have been a little bit different heightened state of awareness or something at the Camden game because of all the aggressiveness. But I do remember that particular one. It was because we're on the home side over there. And I remember that being literally right there, down from the Camden bench and stuff, and we're still looking at the play, and I'm trying to figure out who was tackling. I'm like, oh, well, there's Coach Morris. he's to him, he's
on Camden sideline now.
Yeah, he's over here ready
and
get the stuff going.
That one ended up being not bad. That one was a cramp, but the way the things were going that night, it just felt like compounding and compounding and compounding and compounding. So all I know is we have a kid that's on the sideline on the complete other side of the field that's laying there, and other people are staring at him. I'm like, well, okay, well, we got to get over there. So, but no, that's easy for me. The scary moments is when you have a kid that's laying on the field, and I don't think any of them ended up being, knock on wood, yet. We're still waiting on some information on some, but ended up being as bad as we initially thought. But we don't have bukus of depth to be missing a lot of kids either. So definitely concerned when those type of games occur.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting moment where, there was several times it's just like seemed like they was pounced on again after they were down, and that's uncalled for. In several areas.
And I don't mind saying this because I'm not going to badmouth another team. I've been on that side. I've been on the side since I've been here where the team and the kids are badmouth for the things they do. There's always a reason behind things, and I like to think, and maybe it just helps me be at peace at night when I go to sleep. I don't know. You figure out the reasoning, but the fact of the matter is 90% of the injuries we're dealing with this week were post-play injuries. And that's not a shot of anybody. That's just pure, statistics that, very few of our injuries were in-play injuries. It was,
and it's not just one team.
No,
it's been done 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. And so that's something that I look at and it's unfortunate. But we're in a situation this week where trust me, these last 2 days of practice have been very interesting just because of who can be out there. And that's always the fear of a small school. When you're coaching at a small school and you have small numbers and you don't have a lot of depth in some places, when you were missing 5+ kids on a day, I mean, that's detrimental. And you're still sitting in limbo on some. I can't go into depth in it, but we're still unsure of when some will be back or if they'll be back this week. And so you're kind of looking at that depth chart that was very slim to begin with. It gets even, if slimmer might not be the right English term there, but it gets smaller.
Yeah.
And so it's, we had to get creative last week with missing some kids because of injuries, and we're going to have to get creative again this week. But that's small school ball. Every small school goes through it at some point.
Yeah. Now I'm allowed to ask about. Okay, are we getting Corn back anytime soon?
Still not sure.
Still not sure. Do we know maybe a time frame for Bosley?
Still not sure.
Still not sure. Okay. All right. So let's just prayers. Hopefully they can.
They're both going to be fine. They're good. They're
That's
both.
Good.
And now I'll say this: they're both going to be perfectly fine. It's nothing long term.
Right.
It's not anything that's that's season ending for football or impeding on basketball, or I know Corn plays baseball. It's nothing along those lines. It's just kind of one of those. To me, it's kind of a more difficult injuries to deal with when there's no set in stone timeline. It's one of those kind of it's bad enough.
Evaluate next week.
It's bad enough to hold you out, but it's not bad enough to give you a 2 to 9 week period timetable.
Come back next week. We'll let you know.
It's kind of one of those things. It's a day by day thing, and that's what I mean. That's tough when you look at a depth chart, because you don't know, and it's a day by day thing with some of them. But they're going to be okay. It's not anything major. Like I said, it's not as bad as we initially thought on some of them, but a lot of it is kind of in limbo right now.
Players of the game from Friday night.
I've got to, I've wrestled on this. I'm trying to get better, Jonathan. I'm trying to think about. I know I'm trying to think about this on the front end, but we've talked about him a little bit more every week, and we said that as he's beginning to get in his playing shape and being able to carry his body around. I'm going to go with Nate Wyckoff on the offensive side of the football. He always does well on defense, but he was 4 yards short of 100 yards receiving. He had a couple big catches, and we knew he would be able to get out of the backfield and catch the ball. He showed a different part of his game Friday night of being able to catch the ball in space and break some tackles. So I'm going to give it to him in hopes that we continue to utilize him and him continue to find ways to to make big things happen in mismatch situations, like we were against Camden. We've got, they're worried about Drew and they're worried about Dalen, and rightfully so. And so sometimes Nate's going to get a favorable matchup with the DB that we feel like he could take advantage of. And we were able to do that some, and we were not able to do that other times, but that's something that we're going to need as we get into November.
All right, things that you discovered from Friday night's ball game that you worked on in your practice, things to fix, your practice topics and stuff.
Well, practice already this week has been a little different because we are banged up. We are shorthanded.
Had to make some moves here.
Well, and we've also had to adjust kind of what we do.
Yeah.
Monday is typically, when we talked about it, typically an install, alignment, heavy special teams day. And we kind of dropped back and punted on that and did a heavy film day. We had, there's some sicknesses going around. We had some kids out along with kids that are injured. And, sometimes it's hard to go out and practice with 25, 26 kids,
Right.
and so today was kind of a mesh of the previous 2 days, but we're still missing quite a few kids. We had some other kids sick, some back that weren't here yesterday, and some that were here yesterday, not here today, and then still kind of in flux with a couple of injuries and getting all that figured out. And, the things that was discovered, and I think it can't be talked about and praised enough, the amount of composed fight our kids showed. I don't think, it's hard to focus on a positive in a loss, especially when you're a competitor. But man, our kids were resilient and they were composed in their resiliency. And that is something that I hope that we have again come not just this week, but not just McKenzie, but in November.
Yeah.
Got to have that mindset in November to be successful in the playoffs. There's no way you cannot be successful without that mindset. And
Right.
and not a knock against previous teams that have been here. We have not had that mindset. Our in the fight is in the fight without composure, and that kind of gets our emotions aroused too much. And
Right.
I didn't feel that Friday night. And if there was ever a game that it was going to get that way, it would have been this past Friday. So I hope that we roll over from that. Defensively, we've got to find a better way to contain athletes in space, and we're going to get tested right again this week with it. Not Camden. Good grief, we're not playing them again this week. Kip's got a couple of kids that, like we mentioned, they can flat out play and they can flat out scoot, and they're athletic, they're fast, they have an idea of what they want to be. They have rhythm behind what they do. They have a scheme behind what they do. And they've got 2 or 3 kids that can just flat get after it. And so we're going to be tested again defensively on our perimeter, on our edges, our outside linebackers and our safeties that stack it. We've got to do a better job about, a big one that kind of got us was crack and replace. We did not do a very good job of when the slot receiver cracked down on our edge, safeties coming down and replacing quick. We fixed that in the second half and things got better. In the first half, we gave up 21 points off of it. A couple of D linemen running upfield and getting double trapped, as we called it, and that's just not good, sound defensive football. And we fixed that in the second half, and it kind of slowed down Camden's offense a little bit there in the second half. But those type of things have got to be fixed this week, and if they're not fixed this week, it'll be a long 2 weeks. Offensively, we have not done this very often this year, and that's a blessing, but it's going to be a concern. Don't leave points on the field.
Yeah.
Correct. We have not done that. If you sit and think about the season, there's been very few 2-point or extra point situations that we have not converted. And not only did we miss on some, it was the difference in the game. If everything else shakes out the way it does, you leave 5 points on the field, that's almost a whole nother touchdown. And then, by the time you score it, and if you convert it 2, it is a touchdown. So don't make a habit of that. If you're leaving points on the field come November, you'll be finding your way to the couch early. And number 3, rather, I thought special teams have steadily gotten better, and I keep harping on it because you can lose a game as the weather is going to get colder. The ball's getting colder. The rain is getting ready to start. It missed it a little bit on us, but we failed to block up an extra point, and then Camden ended up blocking it. We had penetration through the A gaps, and it's just a mental lapse. And the kids said, "Well, coach, I didn't think they could rush to the A gap." What are you talking about? Of course they can rush to the A gap. Just step down and seal the gap, and can't take a play off, especially in a very close game. You cannot, every point matters, and hopefully we've learned that lesson. So we got to get healthier. We've got to get healthier, not just physically, but with our sicknesses. We tell the kids, go to bed, rest, wash your hands. If you take vitamins, take an extra one. Drink some orange juice, whatever it is. But I love the cool down. I love it. I love this time of year, but with it comes sicknesses.
Right.
And so there's got to be more of an emphasis put on our health outside of being, physically hurt at practice or in the game.
You've already kind of touched on it just a little bit, but just like Camden, we don't know who Memphis Kip is.
No,
We don't know.
no.
So let's
And-
talk about Friday night's game coming up. Memphis Kip coming in here at senior night. You've talked about this before, Coach, whether it's homecoming or whether it's senior night. You got all of these different and changing activities ahead of time. Talk about that? How is that going to come into play? And let's talk about Friday night's game as they come in.
And I do not, and go ahead and quote this, I'm not discrediting the senior night and senior time. It's important. It's part of it. It's the end of the journey. It's not
Can we
the
do it
end,
after the game?
It's not the end of their journey. Their
Right.
journey still goes on, and
Right.
then, it's not their last home game. We've secured at least one home playoff spot, and so.
True.
But it's important. It's kind of a rite of passage. You put in your 4 to 3 to 2 or however many years you've done it, and so this is your moment, and that's important. I remember my senior night, but with it comes a lot of adjustments to the routine, and y'all know that I'm a big routine person. I love a routine. I don't like being rushed. I don't like feeling that flusteredness that you get sometimes by being rushed before a game, and so that's on me as a head coach to be a better planner this week. With our pregame, what we do, how we do it, and try to and understand that maybe it's not ideal to what we're accustomed to, but finding the best way to combat that we still get our routine done, but we also allow the seniors and the senior families to have their moment. And the best way to do that is you learn from experience. Lord knows I've got a better plan this year than I did my first year going into this. And, and I'm sure there'll be things I want to tweak after this year. It's a beautiful thing about technology. It's not hard to find notes from the year prior and kind of put notes after the game last year's senior night and said, hey, remember, don't do this. And this didn't work out well for pregame or whatever. And,
Right.
But again, you got to be flexible, and it's on me to not allow that flexibility to creep into the kids and their pregame routine. But it's going to be a big night. Hopefully, everybody comes out and supports these seniors. It's a large senior group, not just for football players, but cheerleaders and band members as well. I think that we're going to be pushing 30 kids that's going to get recognized.
Wow.
So it's going to be rather lengthy, and a lot of pride in this place is going to be on display Friday night. So you're always proud of your seniors, and you want them to have a memorable experience.
Well, and just to let the seniors and the senior families know, we are going to do a separate broadcast pregame deal for that.
Awesome.
And we'll have the camera on each and every senior that's coming across where that's at. So I don't know if I'm going to be on the microphone for that or Mr. Mike Foster. I don't know what it is, but still,
I'm the last person to ask
right.
about that.
We're going to put it. We're going to put it on there. We're going to have a separate broadcast link for that. That way, the seniors and the families can go back, revisit that again, and look at that again. We've done that for the last couple of years, and it was, I think, Sydney Bozza was actually the first one. It's like, will you do that? Yeah, sure.
She was.
We'll make it happen.
That's awesome. Well, appreciate y'all doing that. But
we want to try to, give them that moment, give them that limelight, and give them that separation. That way, they can go back and watch it at any time, any given day. So,
and on top of all that, you've got a team coming in that's not a lot known about, this year. It's been relatively quiet out of the Memphis schools for us this year because we don't match up with them in the first couple rounds of playoffs like we have in previous years. So, not as much attention has been put towards what's happening where down there on my end. It's been more looking at Region 5, which is your Moore counties, your Eaglevilles, your Collinwoods, and your Cornersvilles, and those schools. So I'm putting a little bit more feelers out in what's going on there than I have in Memphis. So I haven't heard as much about Kip this year as I normally do, and not because they're not 1A. I think they're 2A still. I think they're 2A.
They're 2A.
But if you're going off of the past, they've typically been a fairly competitive 2A program. They've made some playoff appearances in recent years. I know they were in it last year. 2 years ago or 3 years ago, they had a pretty good team that gave, I think maybe it was Westview or someone else, a decent little run there in the game, and came up to Westview and played well. So they can handle the road. And I know they've had some coaching changes, but there's a lot of question marks for them. I don't know, how far they've traveled. I don't know.
We got it pulled up over here. Let's see. It's showing for Memphis Kip, Coach T. Their record is 3-2. Looks like they've just pretty much stuck around Memphis.
Yeah.
So it's going to be. We know how much of a challenge long road games are for us, and that's for any school. So you got a challenge there for them and how they handle it, along with the senior night, the festivities and their pregame rituals and what they do. And but at the end of the day, the fact of the matter is they've got two kids, in my opinion, that can, and like I said, and I keep saying it, they can play.
Yeah.
The quarterback for them is an athlete. He's very athletic. He's got a strong arm. And then number 4 for them makes them go, and they'll move him all over the field. They'll put him at slot receiver. They'll put him at wing. They'll put him in as a complete, opposite split out. So I put him in backfield. Excuse me, some. And they're going to be able to present some problems for us if we're not dialed in on what we're supposed to be doing. So it is a little bit of an unknown. I'm always excited about unknowns. Someone different, and again, it's another team that's had recent playoff appearances and that has been in the postseason. So hopefully we're able to get another test and maybe have a better showing than we had last week.
Any chance you got a coach contact for them? Because I still don't have a roster.
Okay,
So.
I got well, and that's I found out this weekend the coach that I had contacted or was contacted with when this game, and this, we got to remember, when these games were getting scheduled, TSSAA changed how scheduling happened for us this year, and so there was a portal, and your region games were already set for you. You didn't get to pick what weeks you're playing your region games and home and away. And then so in the portal, you had your open weeks, and it would pair you with teams based off proximity who had the same open weeks that wasn't regions. So then it was just mass chaos trying to get a hold of schools that, hey, you've got the same, non-regional week as I got. Let's get together and play. And
really,
and so you're not, there were some weeks. It was why we ended up with Camden, why we ended up with with Harding and FACS and now KIPP. There wasn't a lot of options. When you look at a lot of the, like the regions around here that are 6, 17 regions, they're in region slate right now. This is region weeks for them. For instance, region 5, their last 2 weeks are region games. So they weren't able to get scheduled. So you're having to look further. So the coach that I was in contact with is no longer the coach there. And I didn't realize that until Sunday. I'd reached out to him about film transfer or trading film. I'd sent a request Friday and hadn't heard back from him. And he's like, oh, hey, by the way, I'm no longer the coach there. I'm like, oh, okay, good, cool. I'm glad to know that now. And so I do. I have the new coach's contact, and he's been responding fairly quickly. He's been real
Before we leave tonight,
I'll get that to you.
We need to handle that, because I always try to call the honestly, out of these high schools, no matter where they're at, I get more traction on these rosters out of the secretary of the school.
I'm telling you,
it's funny the way it works.
Secretaries and the bookkeepers make a school function.
They really do.
Are the heartbeat. And if I'm telling you, some of the worst days in this building is when our secretary or our bookkeepers are not here, or the school nurses. Those 3 ladies, Miss Amy, Miss Brittany, and Miss Lissy. If one of those 3 are not here, it's not a great day. And if 2 of those 3 are gone, oh my goodness, it's massive. So yeah, no, you're right. Those people that do those jobs are the heartbeat of the school.
I've got one question for you.
I bet it's a doozy.
It's not too bad, honestly. You get to this time of year, and as far as you talking about you and all your coaching staff, this question is for. You always hear the phrase, we got to know what we need to do. Is it getting to a point now, though, of getting to the stage of this is what we don't need to do, what not to do? You kind of know.
It's definitely the tone of how you're, presenting things to kids is definitely beginning to shift. I think we kind of had the first, kind of moment of that today. And when you look, and again, you have so many that are injured or so many that are sick, and you're looking, you're like, well, coach, how are we going to practice this? And how are we going to practice this? And how are we going to do this? And that kind of sours the mood. And so to the outside ears, this may sound cruel, but to someone that's in it every day, I think there's a lot of truth to it. At this point in the season, this is week 10. We've been doing this long. We shouldn't be begging someone to be doing what they should be doing to be what they want to be. We're past that point.
Yep.
And it's not that, some kids don't meet, or myself or anybody needs some motivation, but if it's like pulling teeth come middle of October to get a work day in with what we have, we can't control who's hurt and who's sick. That's
Sure.
outside of our control. What we control is who's here, and we adjust and we adapt. But at this point, we're not begging for us to put the work in to be what we said we wanted to be back in July. We're well past that. And so if we're still having to pound that drum at this point, we've got major issues, and it's not schematics. It's a devotedness to the long-term process. I love to say at this time of year, great teams play a long time.
Yep.
And it's a long season. This football season will drag out. I mean, you think about it, you start at what, third week? First game's third week in August,
Yep.
second week in
Yeah.
August, and then the state title game played the first weekend in December.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
It is.
And good teams play a long time, and there's a lot of obstacles. You fall break, and then you have other breaks. You got the shift in the weather, which causes sicknesses, and you have
Bye
the
week.
injuries, and you have the bye weeks, and then that's not to even talk about if you make it to Thanksgiving week and that week with that holiday. There's a lot of obstacles that go into this, and that's why that there comes a point where you're right, Adam. You've got to change a way of, hey, it's time to change the way of thinking. Like
Yeah.
at this point, we control what we can control. We need to fix some certain things, not change what it is or how we're going about it, but clean up, fine tune a little things. And you'll see our practices that I wish you would have come at an earlier practice and then see what our practices are now.
Different. Yeah.
They've changed drastically. Early in the season, we're doing a lot more full contact things than we are this later in the season. Not because there's not merit in it, just because where does that 15 minutes need to be placed in this time? What's more beneficial for us? Is it more beneficial for us to line up and do Oklahoma? That's the easy thing to do sometimes. But is that beneficial to where we're struggling? Not all the times.
Yeah.
Sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're just not getting after it. We need a redose of that physicality, and kids love those drills. They love to do those drills. They don't like doing the turnover circuits or the tackling circuits because that's not football, is what they call it. That's more fundamental.
Well, it's simple. It's fundamental.
It is. And so, it is a little bit of a shift. We're kind of experiencing that right now. It's time to say, hey, it's almost is getting closer and closer to not being enough. And it's over is getting closer and closer every second.
Yeah. All right. So your top three Cayman Electric powers to succeed going into this game on Friday night.
Force and contain on defense. I would expect Kip to try to do some of the similar type things that Camden was able to expose on our perimeter players. Our primary and secondary force. Those are two terms that I haven't used a lot this season just because they have not been kind of exposed the way they were exposed. And number one, containing the ball. Getting allow multiple hats to get to it once it's contained. Number two, don't leave points on the field. You can't be a 2 week in a row type thing. We've got to walk away with points from every situation that we get. We get down in the red zone. We've got to convert. We've got to come away with points. You get the 2-pointer, the extra point opportunities. You got to come away with points. Let's don't make that a continual habit. And I really don't think we will. I think we'll get that fixed. And then number three is going to be, I gotta say it every week. I don't know, y'all think I'm a broken record. It's a fear of mine. It's special teams. Coverage, punt coverage, kickoff coverage. We're playing an athletic team that loves and thrives in space, and you give them the ball in space. What are they going to do? So it's going to be extremely important. And we've been a lot better here of late with that. But all it takes is this one moment to have one person lapse on their lane and their coverage lane, and then now you've got a crease. And some of these kids don't need much of a crease to take it the other way.
We found that out Friday night.
As we found out last week.
Yep. All right. Well, we're going to step away. We'll take a quick 30-second break. We'll come back and wrap it all in a bow after this on the War Eagle Radio Network. Are you looking for the best knowledge about H2O? Call Rogers Hydrant Service Incorporated. At Rogers Hydrant Service, they focus on building strong relationships with each of their customers to ensure every experience is the best that it can be. With over 125 years of combined experience in water treatment and distribution, they can help you achieve the best results from your water distribution system. Call Rogers Hydrant Service.
It's clean.
At 662
It's cold.
7300.
And that's what I call high quality H2O.
Welcome back live on the War Eagle Radio Network. Talons Out Live, presented by Rogers Hydrant Service. Good team night. Phil Williams made it happen.
Great stuff.
Great food. Taco Lima. The grandparents brought that in here, so that was good stuff. Had some fajitas.
Can't beat it.
Hey, we
fajitas.
appreciate. I haven't said enough. We appreciate everybody that helps take care of our kids.
Because
Whether
it
it's
takes everybody.
Team night, whether it's pregame, whether it's postgame, whether it's just a random, hey, I'd like to do this for the team today.
Yeah.
All of that is I can't speak enough of how appreciated it is, because our kids love it. They love it. They love. I mean, they come on a Tuesday night and eat, and they don't complain about being here at all. They get fed, they get food, and so there's a lot. All that is very appreciative, and we hope we can continue to do that.
Next year, we need to work on some more games and stuff for more activities.
Then it's a work in progress. Hey, we've had a curveball throw to us this year with Talons Out Live, so we'll make it better.
They can have fun out there while we're broadcasting.
It out. We'll make it better.
Make it happen. Something different. So
that's right.
Every year you can add to it. Add to it, take away.
That's exactly right.
Well, it's gonna be a challenge.
It's gonna be a battle.
It'll be a battle.
Another battle Friday night. So, Hometown Grocery Deli pregame show starts at 6:30. I believe the senior night activities start at 6. Okay, so we'll have a separate link on there at 6 for that. So be sure you tune in for that. That won't have no introduction; just be boom, start, go, done. And then the pregame show, Hometown Grocery Deli pregame show. If all the 30 or 50 or whatever seniors, if we've got them run through there at that time, it should start at 6:30, the pregame show. So hopefully we can get them run through there. You're probably saying, yes, we need to get them run through there before
we kick off at 7.
Before we get there quickly. So
we kick off at 7.
Yeah. So Hometown Grocery Deli pregame show at 6:30, and the kickoff, as you said, at 7 o'clock against Memphis KIPP. Do we know what KIPP stands for? Research that. We'll figure that out.
I'll find that out.
Figure that out before Friday night. It's got to stand for something. Right?
I should know.
I'll do my homework on that, Jonathan.
Yeah, work on that. That's the
my homework assignment.
That's the Welchipedia assignment of the week. So
there you go.
Well, Coach, we appreciate it again, and
thank y'all as always
for Drassel for joining us. It was good talking to him, and good kid. I hope he goes far and does a lot of things.
Another blessed night.
Yeah, very much so. All right, well, we appreciate all our sponsors, appreciate all our viewers and our listeners, and making it happen. So on behalf of Coach Morris, Adam Welch, I'm Jonathan Gowan, and we will talk to you on Friday night on the War Eagle Radio Network. Tonight's broadcast on the War Eagle Radio Network is brought to you under exclusive radio rights granted by West Carroll High School to the Tennessee Internet Broadcasting Company, solely for the private non-commercial use of our listening audience. Any publication, reproduction, or the use of the descriptions and accounts of this event without the express written consent of the Tennessee Internet Broadcasting Company and West Carroll High School is prohibited.